What's going on, Commish? I see you, man. Yeah. It's the Commish. Radio show. Radio show. It's the Commish. Radio show. Radio show. What's the Commish? Radio show. Radio show. What's the Commish?
All right.
Radio show. Radio.
All right. Tune us down, tune us out, but always listen to us on Saturdays from 1 to 3 in the Gray Bowl. That's GRAY. We're back again. This time, I know you're thinking it's Saturday already. I fooled you again. We were here yesterday. We're here again today. But today, we're going to be talking about, these elections that's coming up. We're going to also talk about, can we actually be humane in our election process? This year, or should I say the last couple of years, all the way down from the President of the United States, all the way down to even Justice of the Peace candidacies here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It seems to be a discourse that seems to be kind of played out, if you ask me. Before I go into having the mayor, that's easy for me to say, the mayor of Dalworthington Gardens. Now, try that one now. Dalworthington Gardens. That's right, Dalworthington Gardens. That's between Dallas, Fort Worth, and Arlington. That's the combination of the name. It was founded by, I believe, a woman power, right?
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt. That's right. A woman founded the city of Dalworthington Gardens. Didn't know that. You know, that's what happens when you're in with the history professor, lecturer, such as myself. We got all these tidbits of information. We got to ease it out there a little bit. Speaking of tidbits of information, I want to go ahead and say hello to all of those people over at Monday Night Politics. I understand last night I was there. Monday Night Politics, hosted by Miss Molly Belt and the Dallas Examiner. Great turnout. We're expecting another great turnout next week. We're expecting that turnout to be just as great as the turnout that we had last night. May 7th is the next one, and it should be the last one. Upcoming elections that we have coming up for the runoffs. Runoffs that we have, the election is May 27th, correct?
That's correct.
May 27th. Mesquite NAACP, Justice Rises in the East. I will be the guest speaker. Justice Rises in the East, keynote speakers. So I'll be there as well. Hey, check us out. I'll be talking about prisoner of war internment camps in Dallas County. Yeah, you didn't know that, neither did you. Prisoner of war internment camps in Dallas County. How does that relate to the day? We'll find out on May 12th. That's called a teaser. And also, like to send shout outs to all those people that's listening in on the Facebook portal. And Jesse has the camera moving around, and he needs to move it over to his left. That way you'll be able to get rid of that big monitor that's right there that I'm trying to point at, that's covering us up. So he'll be able to do that. So as Mark Clark is listening in and looking in, hello to Mark Clark as well. And we have Bonita, she's listening in. And of course, Charlotte Wooten is joined us as well. So tell everyone to share it, put it on your social media sites. Ed Gray 06 on Twitter and Instagram. And last but not least, catch me this weekend on WFAA. You know, I'm gonna hold it up again. 9 on 8. See, they didn't even see it, Jesse. They didn't even see it. You're gonna have to look at I'm in my trademark 9. I'm gonna have to go all the way over here. There you go. I'm gonna have to go all the way over here. Well, that's just a monitor. Now carry that on.
Okay.
That being said, that's gonna take up about 45 minutes of the show. Mayor Fitzpatrick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me again.
Well, I'm glad that you're back on the show again.
Yes.
Tell us what's going on with you and what office you're running for and why you back?
Well, I'm still running for I'm a candidate for the 342nd District Court in Tarrant County. It's a civil court, and I'm in a runoff. And early voting starts May 14th through the 18th, and the election day is May 22nd. So I'm coming back to ask everybody to come back out and vote again during that time frame, and let's finish this.
Finish it. So
yes.
The election, You've been carrying on strong now since how long has it been now? Are you ready for this to be over with?
I'm ready, but I'm still,
You're ready
still in
to
the
win,
trenches.
though.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm ready to
it doesn't
win.
matter whether or not I'm ready for it to be over with. I'm ready to win. That's the difference, you know.
Yeah, they say that a lot of people toward the end they don't care anymore what happens. They just want it to be over. But I definitely want to win. So
Now you run for office before, right? How many times have you ran for office?
just one time before for mayor.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So now this is the third campaign, then, right?
Well, second.
Second, yeah, because each of them is election time.
Right.
So the mayor one time, and
Right.
then these two right here. What are your qualifications to be judge? Outside of the obvious.
Outside.
No, attorney.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
an attorney, and I've been with Harris Cook Law Firm in Arlington about 10 years. I had 3 cases at the Texas Supreme Court and been upheld on all 3 cases. I have been named a top attorney by many local magazines for the past 5 years, and this year I was awarded a super lawyer by Texas Monthly.
Great, super lawyer.
That's right.
Texas Monthly. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you have to do? You got to be super. So what
Yeah.
made you super?
I don't know. I don't know what goes into all that. They just
But
send,
they
just send me
sit
some
you
of
some
it.
and say, hey, I'm super and you got it. So I go in your office now, it'll be right there on the wall.
Yeah, I get a plaque.
There you go. Now, Supreme Court.
Mhm.
You argued 3 times in front of the Texas Supreme Court. How was that?
Well, one time I argued, the other 2 were briefed. There's a difference. Sometimes you can just send in the paperwork and they review it off the pleadings, or the other times, sometimes they'll order you to come in and argue in person. And so one time I argued in person.
How was that?
It was crazy. So it's one of those things a lawyer very rarely experiences, is, taking a case all the way up to, the Texas Supreme Court. And so I got a notice in the mail, and they said, where I had to go. And it wasn't in Austin. Apparently, the Supreme Court travels around to the law schools to help teach the law students about the process. So my particular case was at Texas Tech. So I had to, get a flight to Lubbock. And, to me, it's already kind of nerve-wracking enough that you're going to go argue in front of the Texas Supreme Court. And I kept asking all the lawyers I knew around Arlington, I'm like, have you done it? Have you done it? And they're like, no, I haven't done it. And so,
So there's no help.
There's no help, right? And so it's like I said, nerve-wracking enough you're going to do it. And then not only are you going to do it, but you're doing it at a law school where all the students are coming to watch you. And so they tell you, anytime that you go do something like this or a big test, go the day before and figure out where to walk in at, because you want to make sure that you don't have any, holdups that day. So I go in the day before, and this guy greets me at the door, and he says, oh, we're so excited about your case because you're going against our Texas Tech moot court champion.
Wow.
And the particular lawyer I was going against was a clerk for the Supreme Court Justice, Nathan Hecht. And so, it just kind of rattled me a little more. And so the next day when I walk in, all of the lawyers that were there all have an entourage of people, their helpers and whatnot. And I pull up by myself, and I walk in with my briefcase, and I remember the lady was like, are you here to watch? And I'm like, no, I'm here to argue. And so they take me over to this room where I sit for about an hour, and then I go in, and you do your argument, and it's crazy because you're standing in front of, all of the justices, and you start speaking, and they interrupt you and ask what questions they want to ask you. And then it's over, and it's kind of like, your wedding or prom, there's a lot of build up, and then, it's all over.
Wedding or prom. You put it in like that. Wedding or prom is like that.
Well, you know how you, in an event like where you were.
They're out there listening right now. They're going like, I don't want to get married.
Well, I just mean in the sense that, there's a lot of build up and work and whatever, and goes into an event that lasts, a short time, and then it's over.
How long was it?
It was 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Less than prom and the wedding.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
So you did that. What year was that? So you have that on your resume.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
So you have that on your resume. So you think you could argue in front of the United States Supreme Court now?
I got sworn into the United States Supreme Court, I think in 2015. And so I went out to DC, and it's a crazy, yeah, I mean, it's a lot more formal, than arguing to the, I think the process is more formal, but it's one of those things that you just accept the challenge and go do it.
Not scared, huh?
Yeah.
That's good. Running for the 347. Mm-hmm. What does that court do?
So this is a civil court, so it does real estate, it does injury cases, it does business disputes, breach of contract, employment litigation, anything that would be a dispute between another person that involved $200 or more.
$200 or more?
Right.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna ask you a question regarding your campaign now. You've been in it for a long time now. Have you ran across any? You have one of those easy campaigns, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, judges, they're very formal. You just said a minute ago. Well, that's Supreme Court then, obviously.
Well, I'm just saying the process of arguing in front of the Supreme Court is very formal. You know, the judicial race is just like any other county race. You know, I don't think anybody realized how big the county is until you go and do a race for a county seat, because you feel like, oh, I know a lot of people in the city that I'm from, and then you're like, oh, I don't. People in Saginaw and Lake Worth and Keller, and as you get around and realize how many people are in the county and how big it is and how many people you have to meet and get your message to, it's a lot.
You realize you don't know as many people.
That's exactly right. I'm a small fry.
Yeah. The clubs that you're running on the Republican side.
That's right.
So the clubs that you have spoken to, they've been very friendly, receptive to you.
Oh yeah, each city has their own politics that you learn as you kind of navigate through the county, and everybody's been as you go through and get the message, I feel like people have been receptive, and where they're for your challenger, you're still respectful and you move on and try to get to the next person. So yeah, I feel like I've definitely learned a lot, and I've made a lot of friends. And
what's the biggest thing you've learned?
I think the biggest thing I've learned is there's a lot of preparation that goes into these races. And, I think that, anytime anybody thinks about doing a race like this, that they really need to think about 2 years ahead and really put the work into getting to know everybody in the county. And, really, there's a long preparation. It's very hard just to throw your name in at the last second and do a race like this. And so I've learned that. I've learned, just as you get to meet people and what's important to them, and what they want to see in an elected official. It's been, as I go from city to city, each person has their own perspective.
Dalworthington Gardens. You've been a mayor there for how long now?
2 years.
2 years. Compare that to the other cities you've been to, the politics.
Our politics is our city is much smaller than, say, in Arlington or Fort Worth,
Completely landlocked by Arlington.
That's correct. And so, we're a small city, so you have some of that kind of small city politics, but, it's definitely not as contentious as I would say, some of the other cities are.
The race that you're in now for 342nd, has it been contentious?
At times. I think that anytime, somebody's in it to win it, they, there are things that are put out that you don't always agree with, and, you just try to combat that as you go.
Well, how do you go about, fighting it?
To be honest with you, I try to
take
the high road.
Yeah, how do you tell it that? You got to have blinders on, so to speak, as if you're a horse in a race, just, staying focused.
I think when a lot of it is the way that you react to it when people bring it to you, So if people bring it to you and you react a certain way, then they keep bringing it to you because they're going to expect that reaction. So I try to take the high road, and I try to disengage off social media, to be honest with you. I think it's hard for people when they're on social media, that you get in a bubble and you think this is the way everybody thinks, because that's what you're seeing on social media.
Because all your friends, yeah, that's true too. Because most of your friends are your friends, they share your same likes and everything.
Right. And same with when when you see what your opponent's posting, you go on there, and of course their friends are favorable to them and they're supporters. And so I think that it's difficult not to get wrapped up in that bubble when you're always on Facebook or whatever. So I've really tried to disengage and go more the route of, meeting people through block walking or going to forums, or, I'm already involved in a lot of charitable organizations. So try to spread the message to people that, I know through those organizations.
Which charitable organization do you remember?
I serve on the board of the Central YMCA. I do a lot of work with Salvation Army. Right now they're doing that Salvation Army Inspiring Hope Luncheon, which is actually tomorrow. And I serve on the board of Texas A&M Law School. I also serve on the Republican Women of Arlington. I'm their treasurer, and then I serve on the Executive Finance Committee for the Tarrant County GOP. And I also do, work through various, if somebody's having an event, a lot of times I'll chip in, at the chamber or the Boys and Girls Club or whoever asks me.
You don't have any time to campaign.
Yeah.
You have to attend all your events. You have no time to campaign.
Yeah, right now it's tough because you have, you try to do stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, while you're in it. But I can't even imagine. I mean, as much as you feel like, how hard you're working in a county race, think of running for governor or state rep or.
So you get up in the morning time, you say, I got to eat some breakfast. So you go to the Rotary Club,
That's
Sunrise
right.
Rotary Club.
Right. Yeah, I joined the Colleyville Lions Club, and they're such a great group. They really are. My daughter is type 1 diabetic, and that group does amazing things for type 1 diabetics, and they do a camp every year in Kerrville.
Juvenile diabetes.
That's correct.
Okay.
And so I got involved through that because I met somebody through the campaign, and so now I'm a member, and I go on Fridays, and it's a really, really great group. They sing in the morning, and they're very energetic, and they're just what you need if you're going to go to a meeting at 7 a.m.
You need that energy.
That's right.
I know I was in a Rotary Club, and it was like, wow, they said, well, you got to get up and sing. I was like, wow. And then after a couple of meetings, so everyone else is singing,
That's right.
so it doesn't really matter.
I just try to blend in my voice.
Yeah.
That's not my strong suit.
Well, that's not none of mine's either. None of mine's either. Now, the service organizations that you're a part of, how has that prepared you to run for office? Any of the offices that you've been running for?
I think it makes you more empathetic, for sure. I think it makes you more compassionate. I think it makes you really see how other people are living and what they're going through, and really try to put yourself in their shoes. Obviously, I get a lot of people. I'm also president of the Arlington Bar Association, and we try to do work for North Texas Legal Aid. And every month we do a clinic, and we also try to raise money for people who can't afford attorneys. So, I know it's hard for people that come to us, and, they've never been through the legal process. They're scared. They're afraid of courtroom. They're, if they're not savvy or they've had bad experience with the law, they're even more afraid of the process. And so, I think seeing that and how people feel when they go into a courtroom, and, you want to be compassionate to them and be respectful to them, and that way they're not afraid. And so I think, obviously knowing that side and being a judge where you set the tone really for how your courtroom is every day, definitely gives me some perspective.
How would a judge set the tone of the courtroom?
Well, you start by, being on time, because if you're on time, then, people don't start the hearing being agitated or the trial being agitated. If you can start on time, that always helps people, because, everybody's always looking at their watch now, right? Or their phone, they got somewhere else they got to be. I think, being friendly and giving people the opportunity to be heard. I think people get discouraged when they're cut off, or they don't feel like they're being heard, or they're talked down to, or somebody's condescending to them. I think that's really where the judge has the opportunity to give somebody, even if they may not like the ruling they get, they feel like they were respected through the process.
That's a good point. I've seen some judges, the courtroom demeanor has been something, something else. Now, the campaign that you are running for now, 342nd, all throughout Tarrant County, that's who they can vote for.
That's right.
So north, south, east, and west.
Anywhere in Tarrant County. And if they voted in the primary the first time, of course, they can come back and vote again. But if they didn't vote in the primary at all, they can still vote.
Okay.
And so if you didn't have a chance to make it the first time, please try to make it the second time, because these votes are won on 12 votes, 17 votes. When people tell you that your vote makes a difference, it really does. I mean, I think the last city council race in Arlington, it was like 2 votes. It was something really, really low. And, that's one couple.
Right. That's one couple. You're right. So that's what's going on, in Tarrant County. One of the things I want to say hello to all those people that's joined us before we take our next break. I want to go ahead and say hello to Mark Clark. We also have, Councilman Casey Thomas. We did a shout out to you in your District 3 awards ceremony last week. Appreciate being involved with you on that. Maurice Washington he's from Arlington, Texas. Okay, so he's here, he's listening in. Robin Short from Southern Methodist University as well as we pony up as we always do. So we'd like to thank you for listening in on the Commish radio show. And we will be coming back in a few minutes. We're going to take a break as Jesse prepares to go ahead and play some music. But I'll ask you one more question before we go to break. Now, this is the question I want to ask you. I was checking your last speech that you had, Bill Wayborn, Sheriff. I want to make sure I have people's titles correctly. Sheriff Bill Wayborn. He's the biggest sheriff I know around. Only thing bigger than Sheriff Wayborn is his 10-gallon hat. Chuck Norris, has he introduced you to Chuck Norris lately?
I met Chuck Norris when Sheriff Wayborn had an event. Gosh, it had to be when he was running, and he did a big event in the south part of the county, and I met him through that process. I mean, it was a brief introduction, not we're not calling each other on the cell phone.
You just don't have his number on cell phone?
No, I don't have that.
So how was he in person?
He was very friendly.
Very friendly?
Yeah, very friendly, and I didn't have any expectation when I saw him. So it was, him and his wife very, very friendly. And, I think it's so amazing that he supported Sheriff Wayborn. I think Sheriff Wayborn is obviously an amazing person. And, obviously I feel like he really epitomizes somebody that does what they say they're going to do. And he's, leads with his Christian beliefs. And I just think that he's an amazing person.
All right. Okay. Jesse, I think we're ready for our commercial break or our music interlude. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Fitzpatrick. I'm the mayor of Dalworthington Gardens and a candidate for the 342nd Judicial District Court in Tarrant County.
Thank you, Mark.
If you want a strong
I'm looking sharp today. She's looking sharp.
Then please vote for Kimberly Fitzpatrick for 342nd Court.
Irish Watson, I appreciate you tuning in. Roxanne John. Appreciate you as well. Thank you, Mark. He says it's a great interview.
Yeah, thank you.
It's you. You carry the interview.
Pastor Freddie Haynes, I listen to the Commish show on the Fishbowl for my social activism information. So I can get
Who's been your biggest guest on here that you get like a flood of people on here for?
You.
Come on.
No, we're fine. Leave it there.
I'm running for Tarrant County Justice of the Peace Precinct 6.
Give me some
When I listen
music,
to the
too.
radio, I listen to the Commish.
See, you got country music.
See, I told you. I want to ask. See, that's a country music. Okay, wait. Okay, this is the break. I know we just chill. Okay, so this is what I want to see now. See, Jeff,
what's going on in our community.
You got Dr. Gray.
that's right. He's a Republican. See, he's a Republican. But why do most Republicans have country western?
I don't think did I pick my song? I don't think I picked my song. Let me pick it for me.
Yeah, but what's your song?
Oh man, when I did the 40 under 40 for the Fourth Business Press, we got to pick a song, and I was gonna pick DJ Khaled, but they said no, you can't pick.
You can't do it.
Because you come out and you get your word, and that's all I would do is win, 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 and they're like, no, that's too conceited.
See, that's I don't understand. I don't understand.
Historically, the only way you could roll over your
What we got? Let's listen to
they were laid off, fired, or retired until now.
Ray Hodges. Listen to Ray Hodges.
Alternative rollover. You can roll over 70 or 100% of your
Don't want to talk over it.
401k funds to an alternative retirement option and continue to participate.
No, seriously, who's the biggest one?
401k plan. Call Ray Hodges.
I would say Tanya Stafford.
Who's that?
Tanya Stafford did one on human trafficking.
Oh, okay. Is she from the DA's office?
No, she was the person that was human trafficking.
Oh, really? I just saw a presentation on that
For Tarrant County Justice of the Peace Precinct 6. And when I listen
a
to
couple
the
days
radio,
ago,
I listen
and
to the Commish.
she's talking about how people are really disillusioned about that trafficking doesn't happen here in the DFW area and all the places that they're busing people. It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, we leave and then we're getting ready to go back again, and we're gonna go right back in after this. We'll play Paula's drop again. Play Paula's drop back in. We'll leave that. Dallas leads number 1 for human trafficking.
3, 2.
In the U.S.
Houston, Dennis Dallas. Ed Gray Commish radio show back again. And, we didn't take a break. We just want to go ahead and let you guys listen to some of the drops that we play here on the Commish radio show. Hey, if you got some drops you want us to go ahead and produce, Hey, young Strip can go ahead and make it happen. Would like to go ahead and say hello again to Tanya Stafford, who just returned back from the United States Congress. She was up there on Capitol Hill talking about human trafficking. Human trafficking, Dallas is number 2 in the country when it comes to human trafficking. Houston's, I believe, is number 1. Dallas is number 2. That's what you heard. Myself and Mayor Fitzpatrick, we were talking about that during the break as well. Would also like to say hello to Ray Hodges of the Ray Hodges Financial Group. Just played his drop a minute ago. Our last show on Heaven 97, that's right, our last show on Heaven 97, the Commish, the Ed Gray Community Champion Show. I got 2 shows, one on Heaven 97, the Community Champion Hour, sponsored by the Ray Hodges Financial Group. Our last show will be not next month, it's already May, will be this month, and he will be going off into his own spin-off show. That's what we talk about, financial literacy. Okay. So that's what we do on the Commish show, financial literacy. We have our new sponsor that's coming in for the month of June. And also we would like to say hello to Ms. Paula Kemp Williams. Her birthday was yesterday. Wanted to go ahead and say hello because we wanted to acknowledge her as once and always a Commish member, teammate. So that's it. Speaking of teammates,
sure.
Teammates, the Republican Party, as we go into the election here with your campaign, you guys are going all over the county. You and your opponent are going all over the county. Have you had any debates in which it was just hard? Because Republicans are known for, they kind of chill and everything.
Our debates have been, some have been contentious. Like I said, I think as an elected official, you hopefully learn at some point, to stay respectful and appreciate the process and maintain integrity. And, I try to do that, even though they get contentious sometimes. I always try to remember that,
Now, shifting to the judicial race, if you're elected, you say you're in it to win it.
That's right.
You're in it to win it. What would you do differently from the previous person that held that office?
The previous person who held that office did, amazing job. I think that, I want to run the court with efficiency, make sure that the cases are moved through efficiently and the taxpayer dollars are used wisely. You'd be amazed at, what can happen if somebody works, full time, and just making sure that things are moved through efficiently. And, nothing in the government sector, I think, works as fast as in the private sector. And I've had to learn that even as mayor, that their processes, which are good, they're there to make sure that there are checks and balances, but, sometimes, people are like, well, why do we need another meeting? I'm like, because we need to get this finished. I want to make sure that we move things through efficiently. And so I, also want to make sure that everybody's treated, like I said, with respectfully, and that we maintain transparent processes, that we follow the law and make sure that, we do the best job that we can do.
The best job that you can do, that's putting forth your best effort.
That's right.
Now, you're speaking of best efforts, and I understand and I know your faith and commitment. How has faith played a factor in your running for office and also in your governing experience in Dalworthington Gardens?
I feel like, remembering that there's something bigger than me. I don't know how to say it. When I went to, when it's easy to get wrapped up in your own problems sometimes, in your own situation, and forget about, other things. And I went to church, a few weeks ago, and the sermon was on, how, Jesus died on the cross and all that he went through. And when you listen to that, it really puts in perspective what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. And I think that, I always try to remember that, God has a plan for me, and what's meant to be is meant to be, and try not to take the process too seriously.
So don't worry about any of this stuff right here. It's a bigger plan, right?
I do feel like there's a bigger plan, and I feel like, there are people there that, suffer. And I always try to remember, as you go through this process, that certainly I'm very blessed. And I think that, as I go to church on Sundays and I listen, and it always helps put me back in balance to where I need to be. You get stressed out in your life and you go on Sunday, and there's always something there that I'm taught that helps put it back into perspective for me.
At jobs, people talk about work-life balance,
Right.
but we never talk about spiritual life balance.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to keep everything in balance when it comes to that.
Right.
Your family,
Mm-hmm.
faith and family. I know we spoke about faith, family, and you have a daughter. How old is your daughter?
I have two. I have
Two?
one who's 12, and I have a daughter, Claire, who's 5. My older daughter's Ella. And they've been real supportive through the process. They block walk for me. They put on their shirts, and it's much easier to get someone to open the door when you're block walking, when you have a 5-year-old, and a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I remember doing that. I had my daughter wearing a shirt, and she was like 2 or 3 years old, saying, "Vote for my daddy."
Yeah.
I have to hold it. You can't slam the door. Look. No.
Yeah, they're much more apt to open the door. My husband Ryan, he's been super supportive. It's I will say that I feel very blessed to have a husband that's supportive and
I saw the Facebook posting at your rally, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
that you introduced him as well. So.
Well, I always, there's a lot behind the scenes. There's a lot of money that goes into a race. There's a lot of being there to help with dinner, and there's a lot of making sure the kids get their homework done, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
And listening as well.
Right.
I'm not talking about listening you complain about.
Right,
stuff,
right.
But just listening to you talk about what's going on in the campaign.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot goes on. How many hours of sleep you get?
Right now, probably four or 5.
4. I love asking that question to candidates. I say, how many hours of sleep? It's like, that's it.
Well, I can't remember when I first interned back when I was 20 I remember it's the Fort Worth International Center, and the guy that I interned for, he always said that if you're not up by 6 a.m. doing something, you're falling behind, because the people that you look at that are very successful in their life, if you read their
That's
stories,
true. Yeah.
they're always up early and at it by 6. And I think that they do the work early and go to bed earlier. It's they're not night owls normally.
Right, that's true. I used to be a night owl. That's because the clubs was open. But
I know those days.
oh, you wanted to come in? No, you sure?
Sure. She had a question.
She was dressed appropriately. She
Yeah.
was in red.
Oh yeah.
It was red. She was dressed appropriately. Now the campaign, as you're going on, your family being involved in it. Now Ryan, what is he thinking about this?
I mean, he's ready for it to be over. Of course, he wants to win as well. I think he.
And what does he cook at home? You said he cook. What do you cook?
Oh no, he serves. He serves the food well.
Okay.
We try to do crock pot. Be amazing how wonderful. It's planned if you have a crock pot. In fact, I teach a lot of work-life balance classes to other women. And I tell them that, it's if you can get the crock pot going in the morning and it's ready when you get home from work, it certainly saves a lot of time for everybody. So, yeah, we do a lot of crock pot meals. We do, we have a lady that helps take care. She picks up the kids from school, so sometimes she'll help get dinner started for him too. And then he's
Now your daughter. This is my last question about your family, and
Sure.
then we're going to go with the closing. And the reason why I'm asking this is because you mentioned a fact about your daughter having diabetes. I have
Right.
diabetes myself.
okay.
So my question about that is, how has that changed your family?
Oh, it's tremendous. With her type 1 diabetes, she has the kind where her pancreas doesn't work at all, and so she has to have insulin before she eats or drinks anything, unless it's water or Diet Coke. She has to have insulin, and so it's very difficult for a family, because you don't realize how much you reward children with food until your child is type 1 diabetic. You think of every time your child has, something at school, they give them a snack, or every time, your child, does something well, you're so quick to be like, oh, do you want an ice cream? And it really gets you out of the habit of rewarding with food. And, it's a struggle, because you can't just leave your child, at a birthday party or at a school event. There has to be somebody there that's trained to deal with the diabetes, and someone that's there in case she goes into a diabetic shock or coma or whatever, that they know how to handle it, and they know how to she has an insulin pump, and it would be the equivalent of giving somebody a brand new iPhone and saying, save that person because, you know, it's a mechanical device and you have to learn how to use it. And so it makes things challenging for when, you know, you need to, you know, for instance, they go on a field trip. Just something as simple as that, you know, is there a nurse going to be there at the field trip in case they have a diabetic incident? And so there's a lot of planning that has to go in for the family. But, you know, we try, I tell her all the time, you know, to look at this as a positive. You know, you can't help but, you know, be touched by children that are at, you know, the Shriners Hospital or whatever else. And at least her disease is manageable. And she really, if she takes care of herself, will not have any limitations. She can live a full and healthy life. And I try to remind her of that every day because, you know, there are such sad, tragic things that happen every day. And she's truly blessed that if, you know, she has something that is quite manageable.
Yeah, I appreciate you for sharing that with us. I'm getting strength by listening to that right now. So, give us a closing right quick as Jesse get the camera ready and tell us why we should vote for you in the 342nd District Court. And I believe the election starts May 22nd is early voting starts May 14th,
right?
And the election is May 22nd.
That's right. So 14th through the 18th, you can vote anywhere in Tarrant County, or on election day, you can vote in your precinct. And you know, I pledge to be a very hardworking judge, somebody that will be respectful, will be transparent, will follow the law and not, you know, create the law from the bench, and somebody that you can be proud of to be your judge. And I would really appreciate your support on election day.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Hey,
by.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is the Commish Radio Show, Tuesday edition. Stay tuned. Next Saturday, this coming Saturday, we will have Judge Kim Tapscott Ken Tapscott will be here on our show this Saturday. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's upcoming, and we will see you guys later. Commish Radio Show. We're signing out. All right. And as soon as we get this off the air, we are coming straight to Dallas, Fort
Hi,
Worth.
my name is Kimberly Fitzpatrick. I'm the mayor of Dalworthington Gardens and a candidate for the 342nd Judicial District Court in Tarrant County. If you want a strong Christian conservative that will follow the law, then please vote for Kimberly Fitzpatrick for 342nd Court. And when I want the 411 on politics, I listen to Ed Gray.
Who is that even? I don't know who is that.
Back Country Western.